For those who are listening on podcast, that was a Romanian man walking in the street with protesters, talking about how they need to take to the streets and annul the decision of the Constitutional Court to have annulled the round 2 of the elections and reversed the win for the outsider politician Calin Georgescu. And right now, as we're going to get into this, I started a little bit early just to let the crowd trickle in. I think we can probably end this now. This is what's going on in the streets of Romania. And if you haven't heard this story, I stumbled across it when someone brought it to my attention, and then did a very shallow deep dive into it, and then discovered that it's an absolute insane story that is the antithesis of democracy. And if this precedent in Romania stands, it will be the new norm for annulling election results across the world, and in particular the West. When you understand the details of this, it will blow your mind. If you don't know who Calin Georgescu is, you will after this. I'm not going to waste any more time than I need to right now, because I know we've got a limited time with Calin, Mr. Georgescu, who is right now fighting for democracy in Romania, quite literally. Calin, you ready to come in? Thumbs up. We're going to bring him in whether he's ready or not. 3, 2, 1. Add to stage. Sir, at the risk of asking a question, which the question might translate badly, how goes the battle? How is everything going?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me today. Everything is going well, but you have a great name, Freiheit.
Yep.
Freedom.
It means freedom. And I was going to mention my grandmother, my entire grandmother's side of the family on my mother's side were from Romania, but like late 1800s. Then they moved, to Canada.
Yeah.
Calin,
it's very interesting that you are in Canada, by the way, because there are similar things which is happening in Canada with Romania, by the way. Just to, if you allow me to go in this introduction, because I like very much that you are Canadian, because you know very well the situation with Trudeau, which in fact he resigned, but he didn't leave the office. It's exactly the situation in Romania, you know. I mean, the former president is still in the office. He resigned based on the Constitution Act, but in fact he didn't, and he didn't leave the office, so he remained in the position illegally. Of course, in Canada it's a little bit more complicated, but in any case, the same situation. But moreover, you know, Trudeau is a guy, is a typical guy, whatever prime minister, whatever he is, that is not for the people, but is for the swamp, you know?
Calin, if I may interrupt you, the chat is saying your audio is a little low. I've increased it on my end as much as I could. Are you able to enhance it on your end? If you can increase it on your side, that would be good as well. I'm just going to maybe adjust and see if this gets better. Sorry to interrupt you. Audio's low. Yeah, we'll see if we can jack it up there. And Calin, I should also tell you, like I moved, if not temporarily, maybe permanently to Florida because of what was going on.
Yeah,
there you go. I think that's better now.
It's good now.
I think it sounded better. Yeah, it's cutting in and out, but do
you hear me well now?
I hear you. I think I'll see if the chat is hearing you well as well. Yeah, that's better. Okay, good.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Yes.
Perfect.
So
so we said about Trudeau, right?
Yes, and that he has announced his resignation and not left office.
Exactly. Yeah, which is quite similar what is happening in Romania, because as I said, he resigned, but he didn't leave the office, and moreover, as I said, he is a typical person, governmental person, which is not for the people, but is for the swamp. Okay, it's a bunch of globalists and oligarchs. So in fact, you know, the wave which is today and definitely will be is to drain the swamp. And we have to succeed everywhere. I mean, in the whole world. In one moment will happen that, even that now it's not in early beginning, but we are in the beginning of the process to drain the swamp. But will happen everywhere. I'm telling you, Romania, Canada, United States, with President Trump, so will happen everywhere for sure. That absolutely sure. So Just to say there are similar things even in Canada, which has a very, very bad economic situation, high inflation. We know all of us about this high housing cost. Is exactly typical everywhere, including Romania, the subject, of course, which is for us today. But just I want to tell you that they have the same agenda, the same purpose, in order to not be for the people, as I said, they are just for their group of oligarchs and globalist system. Thank you.
Calin, so I got to ask you like two questions. The media describes you as an outsider, as if to say, you came out of nowhere. You have a relatively extensive political history, a political experience.
Well, of course, first of all, because I worked in my life also in the Ministry of Environment twice. I worked also for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for a few years, and particularly 17 years I worked for United Nations. So I served United Nations 17 years, 18 years almost. And with this occasion, I had significant experience and an approach regarding let's say, the political level, and in fact, the corner, David, the corner of the political things everywhere. And what has happened today is, let's say, it's a process which they had behind a number of problems, and particularly the most important one is the peace. Because in 1945, when was the beginning, the born of United Nations, they had a simple goal to keep the peace, or in fact peace building, not only peacekeeping. And from 1945 until 2025, there were not only in Ukraine, there are a lot of conflicts and wars everywhere in the world. So this does mean that the peace, first of all, doesn't exist, but also the spirit and the objective in order to promote this was not. And for this reason, I can make a definition also for my side that I'm a whistleblower, because I know very well the situation inside, and not only in United Nations, but in different international organizations, which in fact they had not, and they have not any interest to keep the peace, but just to promote the war. So in my campaign, for example, in the moment when I said about peace, they are alert to the word peace because they need war. This is the main important point.
So very briefly, because just so people understand the political process, Romania is a semi-parliamentary democratic system, but I think people need to understand how the presidential election first round, second round works in order to understand what was done to you. If you could briefly explain how that works.
Very briefly, we had the presidential election. The first round was November 24. We were 14 candidates for this position, okay? And after the first round, in November 24, as I said, my position was on the first position. I was located, and was another lady in the second one. I was with 23, 24%, and the lady on the second position for the president as a party in Romania, she had almost 19%.
Okay.
So after the first round, the Constitutional Court, including the presidential administration, including the Secret Service, they declared very clear that the first round was accepted and is done, is official, recognized, and of course, we are running the second round, but in the moment when, 3 days before the second round, already they confirm again that the first round is absolutely clean and, let's say, they respect the rules. And on Friday, December 6th, when already they start the vote outside of Romania, in Europe, in Australia, in New Zealand, okay, in the afternoon of Friday, they cancel the election.
If I may,
With
one quick question: when you say there's
the
20 some odd candidates running for the presidential election, 14. They're not. This is not of this. This is across all parties, correct? It's not like primaries within a party.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
So they were just, I mean, I think myself, I was independent, and that's it. Or maybe
Okay.
not one or two, but.
And then what is supposed to happen in the second round? It's number 1 and 2 who then run against each other for the presidency?
Exactly. To
Okay.
run again for the president, and they cancel the elections. I mean, the second round of elections was illegally and unconstitutionally cancelled. With in other words, they stolen the votes of the people, and with a, let's say, reason that they said that they were Russian
Interference.
interference, which they have not any evidence, and even today they have not evidence on that. But they continue to say about this subject with no evidence. And the Constitutional Court, as I said, they canceled the election, and from the December 6th, the people are on the street, as you show already in your introduction, and everybody knows that the people are on the street, and of course they are fighting for the democracy, for their freedom, and for their right to vote, because the basically elementary freedom is to have the right to vote. Whatever person you vote, it's your right. Nobody has a right to cancel, but of course they cancel that, and of course they don't like to be someone who they don't like the system.
Well, we're going to get into you and why you're a threat, particularly to NATO or the globalists. But before we even get there, who files the complaint? Who decides to intervene in the election? Surely it wasn't the other person that you were running against.
I told you it's a Constitutional Court of Romania, which has 9 members. So 9 members with another one who is a former president, Klaus Iohannis. They together decide to cancel the elections.
Like you.
So in other words, nine people decide for 19 million people. In fact, for 9 million who in fact they vote already on the first round. So it's incredible. 9 people decide for 9 million.
And the reasons that they gave, although from what I understand, no evidence provided whatsoever, and
no evidence. And I wish to underline to you that in December the last year, the former president Klaus Iohannis was in Brussels, and exactly what you said now, the journalists they asked him, "Do you have any evidence on what's happened?" And he said, very frankly, he said, "No, we have no evidence." And the journalist asked, "Okay, but how you decide that?" "No, we have suspicion on that." Yeah.
The suspicion is that you were using Russian interference, whether or not it was asked for, or whether or not you had a role in it, interference from Russia and TikTok influencers, which is where you ran a successful campaign using TikTok. Those were the 2 bases of the complaint.
Yeah. So, dear David, 2 things. First of all, I have no relationship with any interference. There doesn't exist any interference for Russia. Beside that, they have no evidence, but they didn't ask also Russian embassy or any Russian official about this, and is nothing until today, absolutely nothing, no evidence on this subject. And second, social media, everybody was used social media. By the way, on evaluation, assessment made by all the 14 candidates, I had a place which they use, TikTok. I had the fourth place. So I was in the position number 4 as a candidate who used TikTok. Beside that, of course, the social media is free to be used by everybody. I mean, it's nothing to complain on this subject. But beside TikTok, which they accuse me, it's not this. It was just my narrative position, because I said from early beginning, not only from my campaign, even from before, from many years before, I said that I am for my people. I am together with them. I am for working class, for working families, and I'm dedicated to spread the productive property as well as the power of each citizen. So I'm totally dedicated for my people and to recognize that the power is of them. And I'm the employee of the Romanian people, not vice versa. And of course, this make discrepancy on the system. Besides that, I said permanently that I am the president for peace, a president of peace. And as I told in early beginning, they are alert to the word peace because they need war. And peace and my position with the people, in a sense to recognize the people, they have the capacity to decide what is good and what is not, of course, put me in a very difficult position in front of the system, who decide in the end to cancel the elections.
So they canceled round 2, or at least postponed, annulled the round 1. So what are they doing? What is the procedure? They're redoing the first round again?
They are coming with how I can say, with a proposal already confirmed by the government about the new elections. But the new elections are a fraud even bigger, because already they cancel, as I said to you, illegally and unconstitutionally the second round. In order to put again a new election, that's mean another fraud, another illegacy, an unconstitutionally act. So all the people from the street, they ask permanently that we ask for the second round, because the first round already was done. We ask for the second round, and that's it, period. We don't discuss about new elections. New elections is another manipulation, another trap, from the system, in order to put in difficulty the democracy, and in fact to put in difficulty the people and all the situation. I wish to be very clear that this is what is happening in Romania. We spoke also a little bit about Canada as well, but this is a precedent, and this is a problem. This is a precedent, and I'm sure what is happening in Canada with Trudeau is from the precedent of Romania, and not only. I mean, we have seen a lot of situation surround, but also we have seen a positive situation, another the precedent in a sense positive act, what is happening in Croatia today, what is happening of course in the United States with the President Trump, in Austria, which also is a change, a very real change. What will happen, and I'm sure, in February in Germany during the election. So in Slovakia, by the way, also, it's a very important point. So there are positions in Europe, and not only in whole world, which call for a change. We call for a big shift. The people, they cannot stay anymore under this pressure and dictatorship from the globalist system. It's a dictatorship of the oligarch system. And here we are. For this reason, I said to you in the early beginning about Trudeau, because he is a person for the swamp, for this bunch of oligarchs and globalists, and we have to drain the swamp, not to keep going.
If I so from what I understood, there is no higher court in Romania that's going to overturn the Constitutional Court's decision. Is that accurate?
It's almost accurate because Constitutional Court of Romania, based on the law, these 9 people decide whatever
Whatever
they
they
want,
want.
and nobody can intervene. So this is a big problem, which was started in 1990, 1991. With another words, David, very important is for all the people to understand. They decide to make this court, constitutional court, in order to protect the system when will be the case. When they need to be protect them, they made this, how I can say, illegally, in fact, court, because the court is just their self and nobody they can decide. But you know, the last decision, and this we trust totally, because we are, first of all, myself, I'm Christian Orthodox, and my people and all the Romania are almost a Christian. We are a Christian country, and we are strongly believe that the last decision is from God. Even they try to manipulate, but in the last word will be from God.
Are they trying to run round 1 again, or are they just trying to go to round 2 without you?
Yeah, no, yeah, they put on the table that maybe I shall have interdiction to participate. They try to manipulate all the scenarios in this respect, and for this reason they try to put new elections. But I'm, how I can say, I'm very relaxed, and you know, I'm strongly believe, and we believe in the truth, and nobody can change.
Well, I mean, so I appreciate there's protests in the street right now, and I don't know how big and vast they are, but what is the court like concretely planning to do right now? They're going to redo round 1 for the time being. They're going to let you participate in it and just hope that you don't finish first or second again. And what's the timeline?
For the moment, I am with my lawyers. I'm running a course to act this illegally and unconstitutionally, as I said, the act, unconstitutionally cancellation. And of course we fight in the justice in order to obtain the frame, the legal frame of the Constitution Act. And of course we fight for that, again, with my lawyers. Similar and in parallel, we act in different international institutions, in Strasbourg as well, in Hague, in Venice as well. So we continue to fight in all the international positions as well, beside the domestic one related with justice in Romania, of course. So we don't give up. We continue to fight, and this is the most important point. We continue to work. We continue to trust in our freedom, in our democracy. We continue to fight for our right to vote, because the most important and basic elementary process in democracy is to have the right of freedom to vote.
Now, it's an interesting thing. Elena Lasconi
Was in the second round. She is a leader of the Romanian party, USR, and she was the second position after the first
after
round.
you.
Yeah. After
Okay.
me with 19%, almost. Myself, I was with 23%. And as I said, the second round of election was illegally cancelled.
But now, so my question is this: is she not upset about them annulling the first round? Because
She had some very good questions. She had several positions on these aspects, but she didn't insist too much. But she had definitely she had a position against the decision of the Constitutional Court as well.
yeah, because presumably she would be running against you right now in round two, and if she thinks you're an easy
Yeah,
person to beat, she'd want that race.
absolutely, absolutely. But again, the system is very complicated, the political system. And again, don't forget, David, I am independent. Myself, I said very clear, I'm just with my people. And by the way, the budget of the campaign, and this was my decision, was absolutely zero, with evidence from the bank, with evidence from my my bank officer, and we demonstrate that we can do a campaign with zero budget as well.
It's stunning. So for the time being, they're going to run round one again. They have to be trying to disqualify you, right? Because if they allege that you had Russian interference or TikTok influencers, they can't let you run again if they said you did something wrong the first time to overturn the results.
It's not very easy to, I mean, because first of all, they cannot do that. I mean, there are not evidence, first of all, and we are not alone. I mean, we discuss about million of peoples behind me. I mean, we discuss about, it's a spirit in all the country. Besides, David, very important, all the Romanian people from abroad, they are permanently on the street. If we discuss about Italy, Spain, Germany, Netherlands, UK, Canada, United States, all the Romanian people are on the street because they, of course, they had already the percentage before the second round, which for me, even in the first part of election on Friday, you remember I told you on December 6th, I had already 70% of the voters. So they know that the situation will be like that, and for this reason, they, as I said, illegally they canceled the election. What we are looking for, and only for that, we are looking for the second round. Period. No other things.
Second round against Elena, and to
Second round
respect.
to be happen. Second round to be happen, and to be installed the democracy again in Romania. Otherwise, they kill the democracy, they kill the freedom, and of course they kill the free elections, which are the basic point of the democracy.
Well, that might be their goal and not an accident, Calin. You know, the funny
No,
thing
of
is,
course, of
when
course,
I
but
when I was flying, I was flying back to America, and a flight attendant recognized me from the channel, and she said she was from Romania, and she said, "Thank you for talking about the story." And I was like, "I'm going to try to get Calin on the channel." And she said, "It's just atrocious." She was in the midst of writing in her vote for the second round when they annulled it, and it's an absolute outrage. And the internet tries to portray you as a far right candidate, whatever. And I'm like, I don't even care if that's true. Did the people vote for him or not? And there's no allegation that the votes were illegitimate. The people of Romania voted for you.
yeah, it's true. It's true. It's absolutely true. In fact, the people of Romania, the people are aware of the fact that this was a coup d'état order from abroad and implemented by oligarch system in Romania. Because definitely there are influences, interference from outside, exactly what they said to me from Russia, but there are not evidence, but we have evidence regarding the implication of Brussels in this process, and in general from European Union.
I noticed that there was some involvement from, or at least commentary from, I want to say Anthony Blinken over in America, who has
including exactly, including Blinken, including Thierry Breton. You remember
oh yes, he's the leader of the UN, or I forget what his title is,
yeah.
but
Yeah, he said a few days ago about this subject that what's happening in Romania we shall do in Germany. I mean, it's absolutely clear that there are disparities. desperate that they lose the power. In fact, David, they lost already, but they don't know yet.
So Romania is a NATO member, so it's a strategically, at least from NATO's perspective, of a critical ally member, bordering Ukraine. And when you come out criticizing NATO, criticizing UN, and it's an interesting thing that people need to appreciate. You're not criticizing UN as an outsider. You're criticizing the UN as a whistleblower, like you mentioned it. Um, they cannot have an independent, non-NATO supporting, non-proxy war supporting president of a NATO member that is bordering with the current proxy war nation, the Ukraine.
Look, David, for me as leader, for me is Romania first. I am okay, and I didn't say never that we cancel something related with European Union or with NATO. But for sure, we shall negotiate inside. Benefit and the welfare for my people. This I said. And number two, I said that on the constitutional rule of NATO, we know, all of us, that NATO is a defensive organization, correct?
In theory.
Good. Well, one moment. In writing, legally is defensive. In the moment when this become offensive organization, I have no interest on that. It's not our problem, it's not our war. And moreover, I said very clear that we have nothing to do with what is happening in Ukraine. Period. Nothing to do. So I am a person for peace. I said permanently that in the first minute I shall start for peace to stop urgently this war. This was my words, and I underline again the same words, and I shall keep this. Nothing and nobody will against Romania, and Romania is not in the position to go in this war. It's nothing to do with that, simply like that.
The second round should have occurred. There should be a new president right now. What's the term limit for the president?
What does mean term limit?
Oh, how long? When are you supposed to have elections by? And when was the current president?
They announced now that will be in May. But I repeat to you, this is a new elections. Are a fraud. New elections, even bigger than what's happened in December 6th. So we cannot accept to be new elections. We accept only to be the second round repeat. That's it.
Are the protests meaningful? Like I see videos and it looks
the
big, but you can never really tell.
permanently for the second round. The protests on the street are permanently for the second round. Because again, I repeat, the process of elections, the voters, which there are few thousands voters, almost 30, 40,000 people, they vote already on Friday.
For the second round. For
the second round.
Yeah.
And they cancel simply like that on Friday afternoon. So this is not possible. This is not only undemocratic, but it's unconstitutionally and totally illegally what's happened. So nobody can accept to be other things instead to repeat again just the second round. That's it.
It is a coup. And when we're living through the coup of the Maidan revolution,
yeah,
it's a coup.
Exactly.
Period.
It's a coup. Yeah, it's a coup. Yeah, absolutely.
And so protests are going on, and those are the demands. Is the international community getting involved yet, or critical of what the current administration has done?
Oh yes. It's everywhere. That I think Romania in this moment, it's everywhere in the world. The whole world. They know about what situation in Romania. This is absolutely clear. And social media is absolutely full about this situation and to support Romanian people. There are many protests everywhere. Also the televisions from everywhere, they mentioned that. Even yesterday, I have an interview, the second interview, Newsmax, as well, United States. I had different interviews around the world as well, and I shall have also in the next days. I have this interview today with you. So everybody, of course, it's has interest on this subject. Besides that, again, could be a precedent which can happen in any place of the world. I told you about Canada. Canada is an example. Canada, again, it's was coming after the situation in Romania, correct?
Correct.
Why? Because it's a precedent. And they dictate whatever they want. This is a point.
Well, Calin, like it's amazing because in America, you have that guy named Jamie Raskin. I don't know if you know who he is, talking about annulling the election if America votes for Donald Trump, the insurrectionist. The way they did it in your case is so even more offensive because they invoked strategies. Even if you had a TikTok army of influencers, Kamala Harris paid influencers to publicly support her.
Yes, it's true.
And
It's
so
true. Yeah.
this is a precedent that not just can be used anywhere, will be used everywhere, specifically to boot out and potentially worse the outsider who is not for this endless wars and the globalist agenda. And the way you described the constitutional court, it sounds exactly like the corrupt court out of Brazil, which basically controls the country. And
That's
you have
correct.
judges determining democracy. Like in Romania itself, and as relates to the war in Ukraine with Russia and the sanctions and everything that's been happening, what is the sentiment? Or is it unanimous support of Ukraine? Is there a proportion of the Romanian population that doesn't think Putin is an existential threat, an enemy? Are people getting fed up with this endless war?
Look, the majority of the Romanian people, they don't want to be involved in the war. That's it. Period. It's not a point if they like or don't like the situation there of Putin. Nobody cares about what is going on in Russia. We are concentrated and we are focused in our life. We need peace, and we are running for peace. Only with peace we can create our welfare and our, let's say, our economy to be developed, and of course our security for our children, for our family. We as Romanian people and myself, we are just for peace. We don't want to be involved in the war which is not ours. Again. And by the way, to be a war in the middle of Europe, it's incredible. I mean, you have to use, first of all, the dialogue, not the weapons. And we know very well that behind the war, any war, not only this one, it's a financial banking system. And you know very well which is the head of the snake, which is this financial and banking system. And we know very well their interest on that. We cannot accept this. We are a country who is devoted for peace. Period. Who is for war is absolutely incredible to believe that someone is looking for war. Huh? So again, the majority of the people, of Romanian people, are for peace. I am for peace, and I am fighting for peace.
Now, and it's an amazing thing where you say like NATO is supposed to be defensive and not offensive, and then people are
If it's
saying
defensive, it's fine. If it's defensive, it's fine. Let's be very clear. I'm not against NATO or against the European Union. No, I'm fine. But again, I wish to negotiate the best for my country. I wish to negotiate the best. No other things.
But I guess the question is this: if well, it's an attack. Call it an invasion of Ukraine, and then members of NATO, or at least the people who want this war, are going to say, "Let's admit Ukraine as a NATO member, and then we can justify this as a defensive measure." I mean, I guess my broader question is, in your view, is NATO being used as a defensive tool, or has it become an offensive excuse to go to endless war?
Well, in the moment when Romania becomes member of of NATO, we know very well that we discuss about the defensive organization, which is fine. And everybody likes, I like very much as well. Everything is okay. I have nothing to do with that. Okay? Let's be very clear. But not to be offensive, because to be offensive does mean that I shall be involved in a war which is not mine war. You understand me? So this is extremely important. It's a huge difference. In fact, it's not in the constitutional rules of NATO, who is very clear stipulate NATO is a defensive organization. I don't discuss more about this subject. It's in the moment when it's offensive, that means that it's not anymore NATO. Besides that, I have seen the influence of European Union, who try to push and to control NATO in the last week, in fact, because all of us, we know, and they know also very well, that the President Trump is also for peace, correct? And they want to push and to insist for war before the January 20, when President Trump will be officially nominated at the White House.
I'm wondering if they're going to try to, get inspired by Romania and see what they can do to prevent the transfer of power to Donald Trump.
Exactly. So look, David, Romania is a great and historical nation. What Romanian people did so far, it's fantastic, because it's an example, it's a precedent, if you like, for the whole world, that we have our dignity, we want our freedom, and we have to fight for our freedom. Okay, so we are a nation who, in fact, a nation who has wake up, and he said, period. This is a boundary, and we want to replace the system, and we want the people to decide what is good and what is not for our nation. So and I have to understand that until now, from December 6th until today, each day the people, they were in the street, David. Each day. Even that one day, for example, Friday, the last Friday or Sunday, there were almost 200,000 people on the street. But each day are the people on the street in order to ask about the freedom, to ask about the democracy, and to ask about the second round. So the people, they understood very well the situation. In order to be developed, the country, in order to concentrate for what we have to do, we have to understand that the freedom is the most important part of our life.
Now, you're waiting for the Constitutional Court either to change its decision to concede?
Not only for the Constitutional Court. Tomorrow, for example, I'm in a high court with my lawyers in order to, of course, to fight for the same situation. In fact, I'm looking for the justice to make his job and to respect, first of all, the Constitution of Romania, and to respect the democracy. This I'm looking for, not particularly for the Constitutional Court or for another court. I am looking for the justice to respect the law, to respect the principle of democracy, and to respect the people.
Have you spoken to Trump, or have you been in touch with Donald Trump?
I was not in contact with him, but I'm in contact with most part of his team, and of course we communicate permanently.
Okay, very cool.
And well, not with him directly.
Okay, excellent. And I want to be very respectful of your time, because I know you I think I might be going over it. For the people out there who want to do something, now your lawyer's involved and you're fighting the political, legal side of it. What can people in Romania do? What can people abroad do in order to help, and how can they stay up to date with the story?
Very good question. So, dear David, first of all, we have to spread everywhere that we have the right to be free from the moment when we were born, and we have to remain like that. And the time for change is already done. This is impossible to be changed. It's a snowball effect everywhere. And all the people in the whole world, they have to understand this. For the Romanian people, they don't give up. They are permanently on the street. We cannot be in the knees. We are straight, and we have to fight for what we receive from God. Freedom. Period.
Fantastic. If I may ask one final question for my
Sure.
own curiosity, the Nord Stream, it's a little off topic, but it sort of relates to everything. Romania, Romanians, Europe. Is anybody talking about the Nord Stream pipelines being, blown up, or is this just no longer a subject of discussion in Europe?
Well, we know about this subject. I know personally this subject. Of course, all this manipulation and, of course, distraction from the subject is coming in order to cancel Russia, particularly from let's say all the economic aspects. Okay, but let's be very clear. All these sanctions, which let's say the international system put to Russia, was an effect, a dramatic effect for Europe, because right now, probably you know or not, but UK is a dramatical situation regarding the gas. Okay, Germany is the same. In general, Europe is in a very, very complicated situation. They have no possibility for, as before, to develop the energy, the production, and based on the energy, there are a lot of industry cancelled because they have no energy in Germany. In Romania, the situation is the same. But of course, all these things, they have one common interest: the natural resources, David. All this fighting, all this war, everywhere, including in Ukraine, is just for the natural resources. For this reason, who try to control, and in general, we are talking about the oligarch system internationally, is to control the whole world and to control the natural resources. Africa, it's already a continent who decide we want to be free. And many other countries, Brazil as well, India, Croatia in Europe, Hungary, Austria as well in the last 10 days, last week. So step by step, everybody wants to cancel this dictatorship, this totalitarianism, which they impose to the countries based on loan, on debt, in principle, and of course, in order to plunder the natural resources from the countries, in a sense, to put the countries in a very difficult situation. Look, Canada, who is a very, very rich country, in what terrible situation is today. Why is like this? A country who has everything. Only Canada can live only through energy, hydro energy, which has, a dimension, incredible big dimension of energy. But he has economic problems, as I said to you. He has high inflation and a lot of dramatic things for the population. Okay, so we have to understand that the freedom is coming also from our independence, financial independence. We don't have to be under the pressure and the control of the oligarch system, which in fact they try to control everything in the whole world. Coming from World Economic Forum, coming from World Bank, from IMF, from United Nations, from all these international institutions, which they try to manipulate the people for a simply group, a small group of people, which is oligarch systems around the world. Thank you.
Calin, thank you very much. This was fantastic. The very last question: the saint over your shoulder. Who is on the painting behind you?
Ah, look, one moment.
I,
This,
th-
what? Look, this is Sfânta Filoftea, but this is very important. This was made by a child in Romania, and I received from her in the court in Bucharest. She gave it to me. Probably she's almost 9 years old, 10 years old, but she was fantastic, and I keep in my house, and I put in a very good and important spiritual position for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Calin. Ordinarily, I'd end with you, but I'll text you afterwards. Thank you very much, phenomenal, and you will have my continued support from the free state of Florida.
Thank you very much, David. Very much
Thank you.
appreciate. Thank you.
Godspeed.
Thank
God
you.
bless.
Bye-bye.
That was phenomenal.